Hello, Meoni here, and welcome to my summary of Live Letter Part 88, featuring in-game footage and information pertaining to the upcoming August release of Patch 7.3. Translation used in this video is taken from the unofficial Final Fantasy XIV fan Discord, which will of course be linked in the description of this video if you would like to go and show your support for them there. The live letter opens predictably with a brand new trailer for 7.3, which Naoki Yoshida says, since this is the finale of the 7.0 storyline, the Warrior of Light will be more in focus, end quote. And I think collectively we can all have a bit of a sigh of relief for that, but we'll see when we get there, I guess. Available on official YouTube accounts in various different languages. As you can see by this slide, you'll be able to find your region's version. A breakdown video of that trailer will also be up later on this channel. The patch officially releases then on August the 5th, 2025. The focus of this live letter is in-game footage and information for 7.3 content, including the brand new Deep Dungeon and Alliance Raid split into several parts. Firstly, Yoshi P says, we changed quite a bit about the Deep Dungeon because we want many players to enjoy it, and they obviously will talk about that in just a moment. So a recap of what's in 7.3 very quickly then. Obviously, new MSQ will be in 7.3. There's a couple of slides here of that. The new dungeon is called the Meso Terminal, which is a 4-player dungeon. There's an 8-player trial. They don't mention virtually anything other than obviously there's going to be a normal and extreme mode as usual of this. And also they mention that there's 2 totems given from the extreme. So I would imagine quite a lengthy fight. I really hope it's Necron, personally, but we'll see. Maybe they're holding off on that for the end of the expansion. A Court Crescent South Horn updates then, very quickly. A new exclusive instance will now always be created when entering the Isle as an alliance of 24 players or more. If this alliance meets the Fork Tower entry requirements, an Auroral Mirage will occur 5 minutes after arriving on the Isle. The instance exclusivity will remain until this Auroral Mirage ends, up to 10 minutes after arrival. This is to obviously give players who want to do the Fork Tower less competition getting in there, especially if they're going in as a pre-formed alliance. The minimum number of players required to use Sanguine Ciphers to enter the Fork Tower will now be increased from 16 to the full 24 members. It will also now be possible to check the Sanguine Ciphers that have been offered and your selection status, i.e. the entry confirmed, eligibility for selection, or if players are ineligible as well. Players must offer at least 1 cipher to be selected for the Fork Tower entry, and players who have not offered any Sanguine Ciphers will no longer be allowed and selected. The occurrence of these new auroral images will be put on hold during critical encounters. That's a key point. Yoshi P says, we didn't want to show who put in what about to avoid arguments, but you can see your own status. We had thought of a system where you could enter without offering a cipher as a bonus. Sorry, we didn't think this through enough, says Yoshi P. So again, there are still lots of things in the air for future versions of this content, especially in the next field instance that comes out. Treasure coffers will found after encounters with persistent pots and happy bunnies will now be adjusted to always contain enlightenment gold pieces and silver pieces, which is a pretty nice change as well, and quite a welcome one for those. Moving on to the Sandoria Alliance Raid, also in 7.3. That's a little slide. We'll get some previews in a moment. The new Bayside Battleground will also be added to Crystalline Conflict, as well as a new PvP series full of rewards. There's a new treasure map dungeon called Vault 1 Iron with lots of new rewards, craftable items for glamour, etc. There's Unreal Wreath of Snakes will also be in this patch, presumably with new rewards from Faux Hollows minigame. There's chat bubbles also in the patch. The duty support system gets updated with Cutter's Cry. There's expanded headgear support for Rothgar and Viera, and also the new option to hide Viera ears if you wish, if you don't like the way that they clip or not clip through specific hats. Yoshi P says, long ears were always a Viera feature and allowing helmets would have felt weird, but now we're adding the option to fold them. End quote. Pretty funny. I don't know how they hear with their ears folded, but there we go. Okay, so now past 7.3 itself. So 7.31 patch is going to be the new cosmic exploration planet, which is Vienna. I think that's pronounced correctly. Also in 7.31, we can upgrade our combat relic weapon, the phantom weapons, through the new weapon enhancement quests. Yoshi P says there will be minor tweaks we did for the weapon upgrades. If you're in a rush, then you'll need to do a lot. If you're more relaxed, dailies will be enough to get you the upgrade step, and doing it once will be enough again. So basically, it looks like tomes. I don't know. My notes here just say possible sad face. Don't like tomes. I don't know. Do you like tomes? Let me know. Then in 7.35, we're going to get the new Deep Dungeon Pilgrims Traverse. Additionally, the new Allied Society quest for the Yoktoi and Hildebrand will also be in 7.35. So that's the recap over. So finally, let's get to the footage. Firstly, they show off the Echoes of Vanadil Raid 2, Sandoria the Second Walk. They show this beautiful intro cutscene, which honestly, it's gorgeous. Just listen to this music. Yeah, so we got the Sandoria theme playing in the background there from Final Fantasy XI as Yoshi P's character walks forward towards the city of Sandoria. Obviously, not wanting to reveal too much, they encounter some enemies using cheats to defeat them, so we don't see what they do. And we also see a grassy outskirts area that we teleport to with a sign that actually says Ron Fair on it, and there's also more monsters. And then we teleport inside a cave through a pad, and we get to look at that first boss then, Faithbound Kirin, summoning arms and slapping the arena with various AoEs to avoid. Yoshi P says, so he summons the four lords, but we didn't want to add them all at once, and the fight looks pretty cool. Yoshi P says, something new in general battle UI I want you to pay attention to is the nameplate. There is a new cast bar on the nameplate. This is a pretty cool addition, in my opinion. Yoshi P says, if you had multiple targets, you had to look at the enmity list or have the boss that you are not hitting in the focus target. So we hope this improves playability a bit. But that's it for the Alliance raid, he says. But we did show you more in the trailer, and he personally thinks the fourth boss is the hardest, end quote. So I can't wait to try the Alliance raid out for sure. I always love me some Final Fantasy XI nostalgia. Back to the PowerPoint then. Orchestrion roll drops, so the music that drops from the raids. Orchestrion rolls now drop from Alliance specific treasure coffers, not subject to the weekly reward limit. As you see, there's 3 from the second boss, 3 from the third boss, and 6 from the fourth boss. Yoshi P says, since the Orchestrion rolls have strong nostalgic value for some players, we're changing the drop system a bit to make them more easily obtainable, end quote. Now we get a sneaky peek at the glam then from the Alliance raid. We've got this Mikote wearing this beautiful piece here, and then we've got this lovely outfit, and then we got Preach's outfit presumably on this Lalafell, which is awesome. Another set here on a Lalafell. And we've got a set here on his male Mikote, so all of those outfits looking pretty good, at least in their concept. Can't wait to see them in the game. Next then, with the PvP updates, obviously PvP Series 9 will begin with lots of new series rewards. Usually there's like a mount and emotes and things like that. PvP action adjustments will also be here. They'll be in the patch notes listed. They don't mention them. They've added items for exchange with trophy crystals, so anything's good, honestly, because there's nothing to really spend them on once you've got most things. The new Battleground Arena, the Bayside Battleground, is added. There's obviously new ranking tiers, Omega and Ultima, in this patch. Yoshi P says, up until now, towards the end of the season, the matching became a bit difficult, and these new ranks will change that, end quote. Players will now be able to queue casual matches in party also with 2 players, which is pretty cool, just for casual only. There'll be a new timer to display indicating the time before medicine kits appear on the field, which you can actually physically see in the game. They adjusted the functionality of Purify. This recast timer has been reduced from 24 seconds to 4 seconds, but the caveat to that is that the MP consumption has been increased from 0 to 2,500. So obviously you can use it more often, but not if you don't have enough MP. Resilience effect duration is also changed from 3 seconds to 2 seconds. Yoshi P says, we wanted to change the balance with this change. Right now, you're bursting a player after you saw they use Purify. So maybe that changes it. The following statuses will now have persistent visual effects. This includes Undead Redemption, Nebula, Shiten, Wreath of Fire, and Wreath of Ice. Yoshi P says, especially players who aren't used to PvP yet struggle with noticing these different effects, so there will be visual effects now, end quote. Very cool. A small demo in-game of the new map was shown. I won't go on this too much. It's a vibrant, straightforward-looking map on the beaches of Tulialalen, the city. Jump pads to move around everywhere. There's a few walls, obviously, to break line of sight. Yoshi P mentioned that this is more of a serious map with no gimmicks, quote-unquote. I'm not sure if we can trust him. Who knows? Nice and vibrant, easy to see your way around. All in all, I quite like it personally. We'll have to see how it plays in person and if there are any gimmicks that weren't shown. They also show the medicine spawn timer here, which is, physically a clock ticking down for the medicine. They also used Purify here to show that it's back, obviously very fast, but now costs MP. Looks cool. I look forward to it. Hopefully the series rewards are cool. So they look at some PvP gear previews then, presumably from Trophy Crystals. Yoshi P says, I showed this earlier, but the new PvP glamours will be casual style, end quote. Firstly, they show this outfit, which is neon green. It very much is reminiscent of a lot of the other Solution 9 inspired sets. Then we have this nice sort of hip outfit on this Aura. Quite like that one, actually, and it's really quite nice glam. And then there's this cute set on this Viera that a lot of people also seem to like in the chat when this was live. And there's also this cool hip on this male Miko, which, is alright, cool, I guess. These are presumably for the trophy crystals and not the series rewards, because there's far too many there. Maybe one of them is a series reward. Probably the Viera one. I have absolutely no idea and no context was given, so we'll have to wait and see. The new treasure map dungeon, Vault 1 Iron. In the game, Yoshi P goes to try his luck with the dungeon. It looks pretty much the same as you would imagine. Pretty awesome though on the intro, and this is the basis for the live letter background image they actually used for this live letter. So to start this off, you click on a cube and 3 monitors will spin, kind of like a casino. Different monsters will appear based on how lucky the spin is, and also this will affect how good the loot is upon defeating them. Yoshi P does a few spins, getting average levels of luck at the start. These pretty cool mobs, the Spriggans with goggles, are adorable. There's lots of cool monster reskins here. I really like some of the options. And on the 3rd spin, he gets the jackpot, because of course he does. It's Yoshi P luck. Summoning the big gold Mandragora boss here, which he cheats to defeat. And the loot is a gold chest instead of obviously silver and otherwise. It seems to drop a new glamour weapon box, I noticed as well. If you just sneaky peek there, I don't know if it's the old Figmental ones or if it's something new. Hopefully a new set of glamour weapon boxes. That would be cool. And then he gets kicked out from getting 3 broken heart symbols, which is pretty much how the old treasure map dungeons did it with the Atomos, for example, blowing you out. Same thing with the 3 hearts, it throws you out. It looks like a lot of fun, and I'm sure there's lots of nice things to collect from within as usual, and they actually show some of them off here. Firstly, there's this new tuxedo suit, looking pretty dapper here. I quite like that one. And then a beautifully flowing dress here for parties on this Aura, which I personally think is really nice. It's got those armlet bits, which makes it a little bit more unique from some of the other sets that are quite similar in the game. Quite nice. They also show some crafting gear here. That's what they said it was. It's beautiful. It's like this beautiful velvet, like the blue velvet. Really, really nice on that Viera. Holy moly, I would love to get that. If that is in fact crafting gear, unless the translation's off, who knows. That was the end of part 1. Then 15 minutes later they came back to look at deep dungeons. Yoshi P says there are a few things we want to change with 14 overall, and a few of those things I will be touching on while introducing this deep dungeon. They first explain what a deep dungeon is, so we're not going to go over that too much. Basic understanding of the nature of random generated series of floors in a dungeon to explore with bosses, unique deep dungeon specific mechanics, etc. EXP earning from doing it, to level up your jobs from outside the dungeon. Yada yada yada. But now in 7.35 with Pilgrims Traverse, the new deep dungeon is slightly different. They titled this a deep dungeon for everyone. That's what the slide says, saying that whether you are a casual or hardcore player, whether solo or in a fixed party, they want Pilgrims Traverse to have something for everyone to enjoy. Yoshi says, and this is all quotes, so what does this concept mean? It's been more than 10 years since 2.0. Actually, how many of you have been playing since 2.0? Thank you. Thank you for sticking with us this long. 2.0 really didn't have that much content, and we've been adding a lot of content since. If you think back, the uneven patches that added a new alliance raid, for example, they were more casual leaning. On the other hand, the even patches brought savage raids and were more hardcore. We've added ultimates to uneven patches, but just this phrasing decides what kind of content is for a specific player base. I've been reading a lot of feedback that you gave me after the last letter from a producer live, So I've been doing a lot of thinking since. That I, myself, am kind of deciding already when we add new content what kind of player is supposed to enjoy it. We have so much content in Final Fantasy right now, but for someone who doesn't do Savage, an even patch might actually bring 0 content. When we're adding 10 sorts of new content, hardcore players might enjoy 3 of them, casual players might enjoy 3, and all-rounders maybe 4 to 6. It's pretty rare, they say, to have someone who enjoys all 10. So it's a design philosophy change I want to get into, is to show that there are different ways to enjoy the same content, in a casual way or in a more hardcore way. I still believe that both sides need their own extremes. Definitely casual or super hardcore content is needed. Deep Dungeon, for example, has the solo clear from floor 1, but that's an element that is basically non-existent for players that enjoy playing the content as a group of 4, end quote. So that's the premise. So then we go, let's look at the actual dungeon. So immediately they say you are petitioned by the Fairy King, Feo All. The Warrior of Darkness undertakes a survey of architectural remnants on the first, with the Church of the First Light in Ilmeg, to discover what ties this church to the Fey folk and a hidden truth regarding the Fairy King themselves. To get into this then, you must have completed floor 50 of the Palace of the Dead, as well as the Endwalker storyline expansion, and also be level 91 or higher. There are 100 floors. Every 10 floors you face a boss as usual. Yoshi says we're sliding a bit in this deep dungeon, so there'll be a lot of scenery changes. They then show this image of a type of boss we can expect. This big leaf man with rainbow colours, for example. Then a picture of this big sort of tree root guy with fungus growing on his legs. Yoshi says, well, since we're in the first, and it's not like all Sin Eaters have disappeared, they then show this cool Sin Eater model for a boss within as well. So lots of interesting variety of bosses, including Sin Eaters. Very cool. In Pilgrims Traverse, you'll automatically be equipped with Etherpool gear, a special set of arms and armor. This can be enhanced as usual as you progress through the dungeon, by using the silver chest. This is a screenshot of the actual weaponry then, and wow, I love how vibrant that face-stained glass kind of look is. I kind of want those personally. So usually there's 2 sets, isn't there? In deep dungeons, you get 1 set for the lower floors, and then when you get close to 99 or above 50 Etherpool, it changes to a different color. So who knows what we're going to have. So yeah. Awesome. Very excited to get those. The initial quest then is completed by beating the floor 30 boss, same as before. It used to be the fact that fixed parties were needed for floors 31 up to the final floor, right? This has now changed, one of the features. You can queue random all the way to floor 100 from floor 1 with parties without needing fixed parties. From 31 onwards, the boss fights every 10 floors will increase in difficulty. Yoshi says we got feedback that too many things were one-shots in the last deep dungeon very early on, so we're trying to go back to the difficulty level of Heaven on High. Of course, on the higher floors, things will still one-shot you. So there's also some more images here, a massive cactuar, as well as a big mind flayer thing Interesting. In the past, the deep dungeon from floor 1 to 21, if you were knocked out, you had to restart. This also got changed. You can try again from floors 31, 51 and 71, so those are your new checkpoints. So far, Yoshi says, even if you wiped on floor 98, you needed to restart at the beginning because it was a challenge. But now, if you go further, there will be more checkpoints. We wanted to keep a few floor sets tied together. That's why the checkpoints are 31, 51 and 71. End quote. Defeating the boss on floor 99 to reach the end, they say on this slide. Yoshi says, beating the 99 floor boss and reaching floor 100, where you can take screenshots, has not changed. For this deep dungeon, a new duty that allows players to directly challenge the floor 99 boss as often as they like will be added upon completion. Wiping to the floor boss 99 and having to restart feels bad, so we're adding this option to just fight the floor 99 boss. It will drop some rewards, and it's kind of a way of practicing. It does not count as reaching floor 100, but it allows you to practice the last boss and re-enter it at 71. You might think this means the boss is really difficult, but I'd say about the boss 3 of a dungeon plus a little bit more difficulty. So please think of reaching floor 99 as another checkpoint because it opens up the practice fight, end quote. Interesting. So that's how they're featuring that deep dungeon content. Now onto the final verse. That's what it's called. This is a beautiful, stunning piece of boss art here. So this is the extra fight that unlocks then, which is a much higher difficulty. This is unlocked after finishing floor 99 of the deep dungeon and can be queued for freely to challenge afterwards. You can speak with an NPC, same area as before for the actual deep dungeon, to queue for it with a party of fixed 1 or to 4 players. It offers valuable rewards that may drop on rare occasions, they say. So RNG, yay. After honing your skills, you can return to conquer the deep dungeon, they say, and discover what awaits on floor 100. These rewards, as you can see, are on different floors. So these are actually tied to weeklies as well and challenge logs. So luminous oil, which is actually redeemed for various different rewards, including minions and potions and all sorts of things. They, after floor 20, we get 2 pieces of blessed horde after floor 30 completion, which again is part of the progression we'll talk about in a little minute. 8 more luminous oil for floor 50, 3 more pieces of a blessed horde for 70, and 10 luminous oil from floor 100 completion. Yoshi says, since we're adding the matching queue feature, we want to add incentives. There will be rewards from your weekly log. There are many rewards. Some are sellable on the market board as well. The rewards here are the highest level hordes. We thought that's fine because it's a weekly reward, end quote. So quite a few bits of this content will be tradable, and there is some parts in a moment we'll talk about that for that specific last boss that are also market tradable. So there's quite a bit of guild to be made in this as well, even if you don't do the full content. In-game footage time then for mounts. They show a mount from the deep dungeon first of all, which is one of the rewards, this bright rainbow Leafman mount, which is absolutely awesome. Can't wait to get that personally. And then they show the tree monster, which is also a mount, which looks great. It kind of reminds me of a large 4-poster bed made out of tree. Terrifying, and I want it. And they also show the chandelier mount, which is actually a model for a new mechanic in the deep dungeon we'll talk about in a moment called votives, which affect like subsequent floors. It's like a new mechanic, but it's a chandelier that you click on, so you get a chandelier mount, which looks really cool. Presumably all of these are from various different rewards inside the deep dungeon itself. Then we look at the hoverboard mount from Cosmic Exploration that everyone was asking for, which is awesome. Nice to see that added to the game. A lot of people were like, when are we getting this? It seems we're getting that in the next Cosmic Exploration update. We also get a Yan mount, which, oh my goodness, is amazing. If you've done Savage Progress, then you will know the pain of seeing this monster. And yes, you will want that mount. Who knows where that's from, but I mean, it could even be technically from faux hollows or something. We'll have to wait and see. Looking at minions now then, this is also from a deep dungeon. It's basically a beaver, and the text says, a mysterious creature from Pilgrims Traverse. What happens when a sin eater and a giant beaver meet? Which one becomes which? There are many mysteries in this world if you think about it, and this minion shows that, end quote. So it's a sin eater beaver. Yeah, I never thought I'd be saying that. Next, then, they show the final verse, which is that, level 100 boss fight, Quantum. So this is a new game mode for this content. To enter Quantum mode, you need to have reached level 100 and finished a quest from that to be able to enter Quantum mode. So the level 100 quest ties everything over as well, bit of storyline, and then you unlock Quantum mode. Offerings will be consumed only upon successfully defeating the boss, it says, which is called Eminent Grief. They spoil the name of the boss, and opening the treasure coffer that appears. This is important because essentially there are things called offerings that you need to use to actually challenge the boss, but it only consumes them completely if you defeat it. So you can challenge this as much as you want without losing any of those materials, which is a good point to make. So it says challenge with a party of 4 members, and you can also use Party Finder as well, which is nice, as you would expect. They say that at least 15 offerings are required to challenge the Quantum mode. Upon completion of the previous quest for doing floor 100, players will gain 40 offerings. Yoshi says there are 5 different offerings. It doesn't matter which, but you need 15 in total. You get 8 each, and a total of 40 when you clear the floor 100 quest. So you get 40 in total. It uses 15 or at least 15, but you can put more in. We'll talk about that in a moment. It says more offerings can be found by unearthing pieces of that accursed horde in Pilgrims Traverse on practically any mode or any floor, and can be traded on the market board. So basically, Quantum mode can be a great source of gil, because a lot of people will be trying to do Quantum mode, and you can get the essences, these items, offerings, I should call them, and sell them right from the accursed horde. So that's a great way of making gil, or if you want to get them without having to do the content, then that's an option as well. So in terms of those offerings, there are 5 different types: spirits, spices, grain, light, and lilies. Up to 8 of each can be used at any point for a total of 40 offerings at once. So yeah, you can use all 40 if you wish at once. Depending on the types and number of offerings used in Quantum mode, the boss's stats scale, such as HP and damage dealt, will increase. They show a picture of various different sort of graphs of physical damage, dark damage, light damage, fire damage, and maximum HP on a scale. Yoshi says the players can adjust stats based on the offerings they're handing in. So if you feel like your weakness is DPS, maybe you don't want to increase the boss's HP, but instead make their light damage stronger. We thought it's boring if we just change the stats, so mechanics will also change, end quote. And on this slide it says, additionally, boss mechanics will change in accordance with the total number of offerings made. Experiment, they say, with different combinations to find the difficulty that works for you, and explore everything the battle has to offer. Yoshi says, once you clear 100, you're getting the 40 offerings. Please just give this a try afterwards. You're not losing the offerings unless you clear and get the rewards anyway. And if you see you can clear with 15 offerings and feel like you can do it, why don't you try a few more? I am not saying which offerings changes which stat just yet, but the buffs on the boss will show. And since the difficulty changes, this will also impact the rewards. The higher the difficulty, the more rewards. With 40 offerings, this is the most difficult and more difficult than the 4th floor of a savage fight, bringing it to ultimate level. The fight length is shorter, but some of the mechanics with 40 offerings will be on ultimate level, and if you clear with 40 offerings, you will get a title, end quote. So there we go. There's basically a hard mode, the Quantum mode, but you can make it as easy or as difficult as humanly possible up to ultimate difficulty. So that is a 4-player ultimate difficult fight if you wish to, as a challenge. That's pretty awesome. I was a little bit, not sure about the Deep Dungeon, reading it earlier, making it more accessible to new players. But not only have they made it more accessible, they've also given you a greater challenge at the end. So I am definitely on board with this. This is really cool. So now they talk, just briefly, Yoshi P says, we're working on a criterion for 7.4 as well. Stay tuned. Yoshi P says, we're trying to improve the possibilities for the different play styles for our players. If we add 10 pieces of content, I hope players can find 7 things to do. Of course, I understand when the feedback is, why now? Too slow. But we also need to start somewhere, but more on the hordes. This wasn't everything yet, end quote. So now they talk about the Blessed Hordes, which is the final verse on Quantum has guaranteed dropped items proportionate to the number of offerings made. So a challenge log will reward you each week by reaching specific areas. And so that's how that works, basically. They talk about soloing the Deep Dungeon, similar to before. They haven't changed it. You still get an achievement and a title as well as a ranking board. They didn't want to take this away because it's quite popular. Reaching floor 100 will be just as difficult to achieve as previous Deep Dungeons, Yoshi P says. So if you like the solo Deep Dungeon life, it's still there and pretty much the same. So in-game Deep Dungeon footage then. So as you can see, over in Ilmeg, you can see the entrance to the Deep Dungeon along with other NPCs responsible for the quest line, exchanging loot, etherpool grips and the like. The Deep Dungeon is quite beautiful, at least in my opinion. Very much like the inside of the Titania arena, for example. The sprawling dungeon filled with Ilmeg-styled rooms mixed with outdoor sections filled with flowers. The UI is largely the same as you remember it, with special items area for commanders and things like that. Treasure coffers are still the same, gold with commanders, bronze with items, and silvers to level up etherpool to a maximum of 99 as usual. Traps are still there that can set you back or end your run, with the silence trap popping in the middle of this room and slowing Yoshi P down, for example. Votives then cause a variety of effects in the subsequent floor. So, you know, those chandeliers we were talking about that there's a mount of, these can be both positive and negative. Players may be transformed into powerful monsters, for example. Regen may be applied to all party members. The map might get hidden. The number of traps may be increased, etc. And presumably many more other effects that aren't mentioned here. Yoshi P says there will be not many negative effects until floor 30. Those will only start at 31 plus, end quote. So expect it to get harder, obviously, the deeper you go in the dungeon. Yoshi P puts in a console command to skip the floors variously and unlock all the commanders. There are Magicite type effects called Juniper Incense this time. One of them gave him a buff of some kind. I wasn't really sure what that did. Another summons Titania and actually destroys everything on the floor, which is pretty awesome. And another one gave a buff that increases the max HP of your party, which is pretty cool. They show a slide showing how commanders work and treasure coffers, rewards for progression if you didn't already know. Juniper Incense then is how Magicite worked on the other deep dungeons. You're using Feowul's power to do powerful attacks and grant buffs. The Illumined Etherpool, I think that's how it's called, Illumined Etherpool glass fragments can be exchanged for various items. This also includes medical supplies like your potions specific to the deep dungeon, but also applies to framers kits and other items. The Accursed Horde can contain all kinds of other items, from mounts, minions, orchestra rolls, other things, and they also show this beautiful fail all minion there as well. Finally getting a minion, my adorable sapling. Amazing, brilliant. That's it for content updates that they mention here, and they actually go for a second break, which was making this a very long live letter. When they come back, they talk about system updates and MISC, so this is the last part. People asked about the housing updates in chat, and Yoshi P says, increased number of placed items or the interior upgrades. We're almost done, but we need a bit more time, sorry, end quote. So if you're interested about housing, not yet. Probably 7.4 or later. System updates then. Blacklist improvements. They don't talk about it too much here. There is a Lodestone post about it that they want you to go and read. Phoenix Down changes. These will now be usable during combat inside the following duties. This includes deep dungeons, instance dungeons, treasure dungeons, guild Hess, and 4-player only trials and variant modes. These will also be able to be purchased from vendors and stack up to 999 99 maximum. They also added a 360-second timer to them to prevent spamming these in various situations, so you can't just avoid death like a zombie. But yes, so Phoenix Downs actually are a little bit more useful, I guess. There's also a cast bar added to nameplates that was mentioned earlier of boss rank enemies. This applies to the whole game. It will be enabled by default, but can be turned off in the settings, making it easier to see what's casting what without having to look at an enmity list or a focus target. Gpose Updates then, a portrait mode is finally added. We've been waiting for this one. This feature allows players to rotate the screen 90 degrees at the touch of a single button, making it easier to capture portrait images. Yoshi says, we hear people like to take portraits for social media, so we're adding this feature. This new button will set it up for phone picture style then. The portrait image can be previewed without rotating the screen. The preview image can then be rotated and captured. There is also the ability to add text stickers now. Yoshi says pressing the preview button will show you how it looks, and you can add stickers or frames. Once you're done with a preview, you swap modes, so the screenshot is taken in a much higher resolution, end quote. More Gpose updates include a new chromatic aberration option in the settings to adjust the color fringing as well as distortion, which looks like this. There's a before and there's an after. Yoshi P says it reminds me of those old red and blue 3D glasses effect, end quote. It's kind of cool, I guess. This image kind of gives me eye pain, and I really, really don't like chromatic aberration, so let's move on. Then there's the color filter mode. There's a before, and then there's a couple of after shots as well. Yoshi P and Foxcorn say all of these effects can be changed on a slider, so Gpose can be even more of a time sink now, end quote. Additionally, there's new Dome and Mahjong voices. You'll be happy to know that Wook Lamat, Kona, and Bakul Jaja's voices are in Mahjong, if you wish to use them. Character display range increase. This one's huge, and they slipped this in. So there's the standard mode, where you can only see, from this viewpoint, like basically nothing, which is 100 meters in front of you. And then there's wide mode, where you suddenly start, whoa, there's monsters. It's not just characters, this is like NPCs as well. Oh my goodness, you can see the monsters. And then there's maximum mode, which you could see all the way in the distance. They probably should have used a brighter image than a nighttime scene in Shaloni. But, you can't choose everything. But it's a good demonstration of how far you can see with this new mode. Yoshi P does say that this is going to hammer your frame rate a little bit, so maybe play around with it in different content. But my goodness, this is one of those things that's like a quality of life change that you're not going to want to ever change back from. It's very cool. It should be default, in my opinion. The max number of characters, however, displayed is still the same, so they haven't changed that. So now we've got the chat bubble feature. This feature is optional and disabled by default. Text continues to display in the normal chat log as normal, even when you're using these bubbles that appear above your head or others' heads. You can also set this to on and off according to which chat mode you want, so we can prevent certain channels showing as bubbles, such as tells or say or whatever. The bubble and font color can also be set independently according to that chat mode, so you can have different colors for different chats. And the bubble chat will be set to display in one line or two lines of text. This text will be truncated upon reaching a certain word count. Chat bubbles will not be displayed during battle or PvP. Yoshi P says we debated a lot on whether to enable the feature during battle content, but we decided not to. One reason being is that we're afraid it forces players to use the feature, making people hit a specific macro when they get a debuff, for example. We didn't want to create an environment where players might feel forced, or by other players as well, to use this feature during raids. This is for now, and we might change this in the future. So of course they were thinking about the fact that if you got a specific marker or buff or whatever, you could put markers on yourself using the chat bubbles, which they wanted to avoid. They know how players think, but it might change in the future. They showed us feature in game now, just a brief one. In character config, we have the chat bubble option, which shows you which chat bubbles for each chat you can enable and disable with tick boxes. Each type of bubble has a different art design and the type of noise it might make if it was actually audible. For example, a yell is a spiky bubble and a shout is even spikier in design. You can change the color of the text with the T button or the bubble color on the bubble button next to it, which changes the highlighted color of its its design. Yoshi P demonstrates talking to another player, which is someone in the office with bubbles. They pop up, as you can see, and the other player's response in a bubble, which Yoshi P says, "Hey, how you doing?" And they're like, "I'm all right." The receive tell bubble also pops up with the usual sound. Stuff's still going in the text box, but you can see it on the bubble as well. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Yoshi P says, for now, you can't change how long a message is displayed, but that is because it concerns the rendering burden. So, of course, they don't want things to lag out on the server because of this feature. And that's pretty much it for the Live Letters main content. Just very briefly then, merch. Firstly, there's a set of acrylic statues available, 10 in total for various characters from Dawntrail and before. Very cool if you like acrylic statues. There's a deluxe edition of the Pulse album 2 with 15 tracks, which includes the original 10 tracks of Volume 2, but with 5 brand new remix songs, which might be worth grabbing. Honestly, I like the Pulse remixes. Square Enix have opened their own clothing brand, which I don't know how to pronounce. I think it's called Lit Bath Apt, which is like, my bath apartment's lit, mate, or something. I don't know what the heck that is supposed to say. Some fancy arty farty name. Some new t-shirts are coming in 2025 and into 2026 anyway. And Yoshi P says this is Square Enix's own new brand, and Final Fantasy XIV is the first to get merch. There's actually some cool looking stuff on there, Laporit themed designs, etc. There will be the usual patch note reading by Foxclon and Yoshi P on Tuesday the 5th of August, and apparently as a final note, the patch maintenance will not be 24 hours this time, so that's less downtime of the game to expect for you if you are addicted to it like I am. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this summary of nearly 4 hours or more of Live Letter, condensed down as much as possible without missing the good bits. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know how excited for the deep dungeon you are and anything else from 7.3. Again, apologies for the length of the video, but 4+ hours of content into 40 something minutes. Apologies, but I couldn't do any better without missing things out. Much love, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.